And welcome to the revolution. We have just concluded week 2 fantasy football. We are rolling into week 3 already, hot and heavy. I ended up 4-1 out of my 5 competitive leagues, pretty good. The only losses I had, I was hoping for an Adam Vinatieri, just 6-7 points. I think I needed 7 points on Monday night, and I think he got me -1, so that didn't work out too good. Another reason why kickers and defense should be removed from fantasy football lineup, but that's a conversation for another day. Well, this was the week of big-time injuries. Tony Romo goes down. Week 1 we lost Dez Bryant, so now we lose Romo. Drew Brees got banged up. It looks like he's going to be out this week. Jay Cutler. Eddie Lacy was knocked out. Carlos Hyde. Lamar Miller banged up. Coleman from Atlanta. Just tons of injuries, which for some of you could be in a little bit of trouble. Obviously, you're not going to replace those guys. You're not going to replace a Dez Bryant on the waiver wire. You're not going to replace, a Drew Brees. And let me just talk a little bit about my take on quarterbacks. In one of my leagues, I ended up with Phillip Rivers as one of my keepers. He was a 10th round keeper. I didn't even bother drafting another quarterback. Some people believe in that, having 2 quarterbacks, and all it does for me, it just confuses me. I don't want to look at matchups. If I got Andrew Luck, I don't need a backup. Well, that kind of backfires a little bit when you have situations like Tony Romo, because you could always jump on the waiver wire, go get his backup, but obviously it's not going to be anything close to Romo. But there's, it depends on the size of your league too. If you got a 10-team league, there's plenty of guys out there. It could be, some up-and-coming guys, Tyrod Taylor, who I'm going to talk about as one of the top free agents. Andy Dalton's going to be out there. Carr from Oakland's going to be out there. I mean, there's guys out there that you're going to want to grab. And it's not the end of the world. Like, those guys can win you titles. Alex Smith can win you a fantasy title, with the consistency that he brings, and he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So you're looking for guys like that. Obviously, you're not going to replace a Drew Brees, somebody of that caliber, but you just need to get over, until he can get back. So that's my take on that. Another thing, like, when do you start looking at matchups on the big name players? Obviously, on one of my teams, my best player is Jamal Charles. He's been tearing it up. I'm good there. You got a guy like an Eddie Lacy. How about let's use Andrew Luck for an example. Somebody asked me last week on Twitter, Lacy or Andrew Luck or Tom Brady, and I said it's a good problem to have for sure, but I'm not ready to start looking at matchups with Andrew Luck, because if you got Andrew Luck, you probably wasted a 2nd or a 3rd round pick on him anyways. That's something you just don't want to revisit. Like, you don't want to go there. So you just pencil those guys in. But at one point, like, if Luck has a couple more weeks where he just looks bad like yesterday, when do you start looking at that? My take, you got to give him, 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, he did lose T.Y. He's not himself right now, so I mean, you got to give guys like that the benefit of the doubt. You got to give them, 3, 4, 5 weeks, especially if you wasted high draft picks on them. Jeremy Hill, for example, this week, 2 fumbles, had like 1 fantasy point. Do I sit Jeremy Hill? Do I start looking at matchups this week? Absolutely not. I'm penciling him. I'm going to put him in there, and I'm going to go with it. So those are some things to think about. Shoot me a message on Twitter if you have any more questions on that. And I didn't mention at the beginning, but of course I'm at Nitka32, Nitka32. Some top pickups of the week. You got to like running back Matt Jones out of Washington. Even with Alfred Morris there, it's kind of like a thunder and lightning situation. He was just on fire. Hopefully you listened to my advice last week and went for David Johnson and not Chris Johnson. Let somebody else grab the name. That worked out great if you took that advice. I think I mentioned last week Dion Lewis. He's probably still out there too. He got all the carries. LeGarrette Blount was nowhere to be found. So again, I stay away from the Patriots backfield. But if Dion Lewis is there and you need a back this week, he's one to grab. Here's a guy that people are going to be blowing their free agent budget on. Travis Benjamin from Cleveland. Here's the problem. I'm going to let those guys bid. I'm going to let them blow their wads on Travis Benjamin from Cleveland. The guy has 6 catches. I believe I think he has 3 touchdowns total. So he has 6 catches, 3 touchdowns. 2 of them, I believe, were over 70 yards. So what's going to happen next week now? Defense is going to start gearing up. Hey, let's take away the deep ball from Travis Benjamin. Let's shut that down. See what he can do underneath. I don't think there's anything there. I'm going to let everybody else blow their wad on him. I'm not touching him. If you can get him cheap, you can get him like under 10, which I doubt if you're bidding. If you're number 1 on the waiver wire and he's the best guy out there, okay, take a chance on him. But don't expect that type of production every week. Eric Ebron from Detroit, if you're looking for tight end, I like him a lot. I've liked him the last couple of years. The first year he was injured. He's starting to catch passes now. But I think Stafford got banged up too. I got to check that. Carlos Williams from Buffalo, who's kind of, he's stealing some touchdowns away from McCoy, so I'd watch out for that there. Brandon Coleman from New Orleans, I have in a couple of my leagues actually, and I like him a lot. Any injury, Brandon Cooks or an older Marcus Coleman's the guy. And then, Tyrod Taylor, who, I was down on, or not down on, I just needed to see more. He looks pretty good so far. He had 3 picks last week, but he's something to watch out for. And then, the rookies, Mariota, Jameis Winston, those guys will be out there. Those are good replacements for a Romo and a Drew Brees. And then watch out, finally, Doug Baldwin, Seattle. The Seattle receivers are really, really sketchy. I picked up Curse last week, didn't do anything. So I'm not touching Baldwin this week. And Jimmy Graham's been down. Don't panic on Jimmy Graham. They'll figure that one out. So a couple more injuries that I want to go over. Coleman from Atlanta. So if you got Devontae Freeman, now's the time to play him. He's going to catch passes, especially in a PPR. Denard Robinson's out. He's going to be out for like 2 months, but hopefully you weren't relying on him. If you are, you're probably in trouble. But I like TJ Yeldon a lot, so he's a must-start now. He's on my must-start list every week. He's going to touch the ball over 20 times. Jordan Cameron got banged up, and then let's hold off on C.J. Anderson now. I'm ready to sit him this week. There's reports out that he's got turf toe. That can be nagging the whole year. So hopefully you have another option if you have C.J. Anderson. And again, the big guys, let's not totally panic. I'm talking, like last week, everybody was ready to jump off of Peyton Manning. In one of my leagues, I actually did sit him for Romo, but Romo gets hurt. I got Manning. Manning came back, so a lot of people try to panic on those guys, and I really think you gotta just give them the benefit of the doubt. So I wanted to get that point across big time. Well, that's all I got this week for week 2, heading into week 3. Good matchups this week, like always. So should be a lot of fun. If you have any start-sit questions, shoot me a tweet at Nitka32 or anything else. I'm going to be doing a couple videos here on how to run a league and how to run successful leagues here in the future. And I think some people will benefit. I want to go over a couple of leagues that I have. I want to go over some rules that we instituted to make things a lot fun, especially if you start off, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4. You don't want guys jumping ship and just, having their teams float out there, giving away free wins. So in a couple of my league, I've instituted some things to keep everybody going the whole year. Again, at Nitka32, and that's all I got for today. Good luck, everybody, this week.